My log has something to tell you.
Tonight, we are taking a deep dive into Bigfoot's family. I'm talking about a murderer's row from chicken killers all the way up to attempted kidnappers. These are Bigfoot's three-toed cousins. Now, I'm not talking about your grandma's or your daddy's Bigfoot sightings where they see some furry creature far off in the distance, like, oh, look at you, and then it fades off. And then later they find some tracks or they hear some nud walking or wood knocking, if you will, late, deep off into the woods. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about rock throwing, chicken killing, pet murdering, and attempted kidnapping cousins of the three-toed variety of the Sasquatch eye, the Bigfoot eye, the Bigfoots, if you will, the Bigfoot family, the Bigfoot hierarchy. You got the five toes, they're chill. They look at us, we look at them, we're like, hey, what's up? They disappear. They're kind of like guardians of the woods. I don't know what they are. But then you got the three-toed. Now, the three-toed, you better watch out. They're going to steal your pet, and then they're going to throw rocks at your house. They're going to try and kidnap your kid. So you got to watch out for them. That's who we're learning about tonight. The main suspects, the Chicken Man, the Momo, the Fouke monster. So let's get into it. Let's get into the best part. Let's get into the wasteland. Let's get into the reading. Oh, the beautiful reading. The first fiend we are learning about tonight is one of my personal favorites. Actually, I mean, all these guys, all these scamps, all these Bigfoot's family members in the hierarchy of the Bigfoot, they all mean a lot to me. Chicken Man especially, because he has such a wonderful name that sums him up perfectly well. He is a humanoid, furry guy who loves eating raw chicken. And that means the chicken that you're raising, unfortunately. He hails from rural Oklahoma, and we're going to get into the hardcore statistics of this cryptid, of this cousin, of this three-toed variety of the Sasquatch eye, the Bigfoots. Now, excuse me, kitty, I got to get the book. I got to get it. Now, before we dive into the actual sightings of the Chicken Man, the Oklahoma Chicken Man, which is very much real, very much existed, very much attacked chickens and chicken farmers in Oklahoma during its heyday. We're going to get into the stats, so I want you to build a picture in your mind's eye of this cryptid, of this creature. And if you have chickens and you're in rural Oklahoma, be wary, be aware, build some defenses, get some turrets like I have here out in the wasteland. Now, beyond what I've mentioned as its love for raw chicken, it is 7 feet tall and it weighs 600 pounds. It's found in the rural areas of Oklahoma. The population size so far that's known to scientists is one of one. This is an important cryptid. It's one of one. It's not a pack animal. It thinks for its own and it's looking for chicken all the time. Its diet is an omnivore. We know this from its history. We'll get into its history soon, but it eats more than just chicken. You know how the media is. It picks one thing about you and then it goes with it. So the Chicken Man is more than just chicken. It also likes oranges. Well, you'll see that soon. Oh, spoiler alert. Behavior. The Chicken Man routinely raids hen houses at night and steals chickens, but otherwise remains hidden and reclusive. The source of this information is cryptozoology. When I say that on this journey, what I mean is the source is you. People, the good people, who believe and have encounters and decide to come forward with those encounters. Now, I know how hard that is. I've never had a paranormal encounter. I've just read about them, and I think they're pretty cool. I've never had one myself, but I totally believe, I honestly do, after everything I've read, it says nothing but to be true to me. You know, I know that's not how it is right now, I feel like we're at the time when the first abductees came forward and they were just ridiculed. I think we're still like there. We're not. But anywho, whatever. If you have a story of the unknown, if you have an experience with a chupacabra, entity of the unknown, glowing lights, a ghost, a ghoul, anything like that, please let me know. Because as always,
we're ready to believe you.
I want to hear them tales because I've never experienced one myself, but I believe. But anywho, the Chicken Man. So that's what I'm saying with cryptozoology. It's coming from the people. It's coming through from the investigators. It's coming from heroes like John A. Keel, Dr. Jacques Vallée, J. Allen Hynek, people we've read about before. Encountering the Chicken Man. Now, this is a special rating scale, and I would say it's a beautiful rating scale that W. Hayden Blackman introduced into the cryptozoology world, and that is a rating scale out of Jersey Devils. Now, when he says it's an encounter rating scale, right? So when it rates it, it's out of 5. The top most I've seen in this book is a 4 or a 5. So you gotta be... gotta be really, highly qualified to get a 4. Anywho, the Chicken Man is rated 3 Jersey Devils out of 5. So if you're out there and you have the right aura, you have the right mindset, you have the right sense of being, you have about a 75 to 85% chance of encountering a Chicken Man if you're properly prepared. Now, if you're like right now, you're like, hey man, how am I properly prepared to meet the Chicken Man? Buckle up. You're gonna learn how to be properly prepared. Let's get prepared ourselves. The only way we get prepared to do some research, and the best research is in books. In December 1970, El Reno, Oklahoma, was rocked by a wave of mysterious raids on chicken coops. The unidentified assailant always attacked late at night and tore through wooden doors and chicken wire to reach its prey. It left coops littered with feathers and pools of blood, and was known to consume several dozen fowl in a single night. Authorities blamed the raids on small predators such as weasels or foxes until victimized farmers discovered huge footprints and handprints at several attack sites. Authorities were completely stumped by the chicken coop raids, which continued well until 1971, but locals began referring to the unknown assailant as the abominable Chicken Man. Now, this attack happened to several hundred chicken farmers. The prints they found is what set everything apart. Now, it wasn't just your typical Bigfoot prints. These were the footprints that were found were 3-toed, and the handprints they found, I'm going to read here an excerpt from the text. The monster's hand measured 7 by 5 inches and showed signs of deformity. The thumb appeared unusually crooked and extended from the hand at an odd angle. And this is here in the picture that was found at one of the chicken coop attack sites. Now remember, several hundred chicken coops were attacked during this Oklahoma raid. The most interesting aspect of the Chicken Man case is the story of Howard Dreesen, a man who claimed that he had befriended a large ape-like monster in 1967 near Kalmuk, Oklahoma, only about 10 miles from El Reno. For 3 years, Dreesen fed the monster a steady diet of bananas and oranges, and his descriptions of the creature agree with descriptions of a young Bigfoot. Eventually, Dreesen attempted to capture the beast, but when his traps failed, he relented and ceased feeding the creature altogether in 1970. Why'd you do that, Dreesen? Why'd you decide to try and capture the beast? Make friends with the beast. Shortly before the wave of chicken coop assaults began. So here we have the story from this man, Dreesen. He has nothing to gain from the story besides everyone thinking he's fucking crazy. He tells investigators, hey, I was talking to this Bigfoot and I was feeding it. And when I stopped feeding it, then a month later, the chicken coop assaults began. I don't know. That's a pretty clean connection. Perhaps the Chicken Man became reliant on Dreesen's handouts. And when his food source suddenly disappeared, he was forced into stealing chickens. Now, this next part is for anyone looking to hunt down a Chicken Man, which I do not advise. We know from our studies and just about every single cryptid and book we read, cryptid encounter we read, if you go into the woods with ill intent, looking to harm one of these creatures, looking to capture one of these creatures, it will not happen. So remember that as I read to you the top tips for encountering a Chicken Man. Patient monsterologists in search of the Chicken Man would do well to stake out chicken coops near El Reno. This is El Reno, Oklahoma. And conduct field research from late November to early February, the season of the Chicken Man. As the monster strays closer to humanity during the harsh winter months, when you spy the creature, offerings of apples, oranges, bananas, grapes, corn, and of course chickens will entice it to approach. for closer study. The chicken man should not be considered dangerous, but like all hairy humanoids, it may have violent tendencies. I mean, it does like to rip apart chicken coops, so just be careful out there. Specifically, if driven to hunger, the chicken man could murder and consume humans. I mean, we don't know that. Chicken man, though, approach with chicken, apples, oranges, maybe bananas and oranges. Make chicken man remember that beautiful time when it was hanging out with the dude who lived in the forest. Maybe that will help the old chicken man. But that is the chicken man. The most friendly of the three-toed Bigfoot cousins. Next, we're going to meet the Fouke monster. We're going to go up a little bit in the danger level. We're going to go from level 2 danger to level 3 danger. So just be careful. If you're not into level 3 danger, tune out or tune in and become brave enough to face level 3 danger. The Fouke monster hails from swamps and waterways surrounding Fouke, Arkansas. Arkansas, I don't know if you've ever been to the state, wild, wonderful, and weird state. Check it out. Before we get to know the Fouke monster, just like the chicken man, I want you to build a picture in the mind's eye. So I'm going to go through the stats of the Fouke monster. If you've been with me a while, you'll know that the Fouke monster could be considered one of the monsters of Lover's Lane, but we're going to learn about it in a whole new aspect tonight. When you picture the Fouke monster, I want you to picture burning red eyes. Not too different from those of the eyes of Mothman. But unlike Mothman, the Fouke monster has hooked claws and an extremely haunting cry and large three-toed footprints. When you imagine the Fouke monster's enormity, I want you to think of a creature that's 7'6" and weighs about 600 pounds. It lives in swamps. It has to be the king of the swamps. Crocodiles and alligators live in swamps, so it has to be one tough MFer to live in the swamp. Population size, just like the chicken man, from what we know from cryptozoology reports, from human reports of encounters with this creature, we know the population size is about 1 of 1. So this is a magical, interdimensional creature. If you've been with me through Jacques Vallée's Dimensions, you'll walk with me on this. Jacques Vallée likes to talk about how paranormal encounters are on a cycle, if you will. They're a part of the universe. They're a part of life. So when you encounter something, it was what you were meant to encounter. It's kind of like on a clock. I believe that same thing applies to these strange entities that people have seen. And if you're a skeptic, I mean, whatever. I don't know why even the fuck you'd be watching at this point in the video, if you are, but so many people have had encounters with strange things. And I'm not just talking about Bigfoots and Bigfoot's cousins. I'm talking about like alien abductions, near-death experiences, NDEs, all that. But anywho, what the fart? Let's get back to the Fouke monster. So it's 1 of 1. It's a special guy. Diet, that's all I was trying to say, okay? Diet, omnivore. It'll eat just about anything, even you. So be careful. Like always, be careful out there. Just tread lightly. Behavior of the Fouke monster. It's been known to steal prize shoats. It's like a pig. Frighten motorists, assault trailers, and stalk hunters. But it generally remains deep in the heart of the Arkansas swamps. The source of this information is Cryptozoology and the cult film The Legend of Boggy Creek. Now, I'm talking about The Legend of Boggy Creek 1 and 2. If you have not seen those, go check them out. They're very important, very good additions to any cryptozoologist's library of cryptozoology VHSs. Or DVDs or YouTubes, however you watch things, okay? Now, the source of this information we get from cryptozoology, again, that means the people of the good people of Arkansas who saw this creature. Encountering the Fouke monster, careful, okay? This doesn't mean go out to Arkansas and try and encounter a Fouke monster. This just means if you have the perfectly right mindset, you will encounter one. It is rated 4 Jersey Devils out of 5. 85 to 99% a chance encountering one of these bad boys. Again, if you're not trying to capture it, you need to go out trying to purely communicate, not trying to capture, not trying to kill. These things are of a higher consciousness than us, especially out in the woods. That's why they're not in the cities. We humans need towns and cities. They don't. So when you go out there, have an open mind. Don't have one to capture one. Have one talk to one. Become its friend. Whew! But that's why it gets 4 out of 5. So if you're going to try to capture the Fouke monster, go with a friendly mind. not a mean mind. Now that we know the hardcore stats of the Fouke monster, let's get into its history. The Fouke monster is famous among cryptozoologists because after its well-publicized appearance in Fouke, Arkansas in the 1970s, the creature attracted the attention of filmmaker Charles Pierce, who featured the beast in his pseudo-documentary The Legend of Boggy Creek, 1972. But we know often these things from Hollywood are sandwiched with truths and lies. One great documentary about this is Mirage Men. It's not about Bigfoot, but it's about how the Navy has counterintelligence agents that embed themselves in the UFO community in order to spread not only truth, but lies as well. Check it out. True lies. Today, the film is a minor cult classic. All say The Legend of Boggy Creek. Go watch it. 1 and 2. Go watch both. I don't know if there's a third, but if there's a third, watch that one too. And the tale of the Fouke monster is still widely retold in monsterology circles. The Fouke monster first gained widespread notice on May 1st, 1971, May Day, the Day of the People, when it reached through the living room window of Bobby and Jean Ford. Bobby grabbed his rifle and chased the creature into the night, but was attacked by the beast. He escaped the encounter with only minor cuts and bruises, but both of the Fords were hospitalized for hysteria, shock, and uncontrollable fear. The couple described the Fouke monster as a towering ape with shaggy black hair, blazing red eyes, and hooked claws. The Fords' neighbors who had heard the monster's eerie cries corroborated the couple's incredible story. Then, of course, after the Fords' encounter, there was a massive monster hunt. What do you think happened? I'll wait. I'll give you time to think about it. Nothing. Because they went into the woods trying to capture the Fouke monster. So, of course, the Fouke monster poofed and disappeared. And it was not captured by anyone trying to hunt it down. You have to think of it like a human that instead of being so socialized, that we need towns, we need cities. That's how we do it. Look at history, look at everything we do. It's towns and cities. That's where we feel comfortable. If the Sasquatch is real, if these creatures are real, these entities that people encounter, which I think are more interdimensional, but whatever, that's a whole nother story. They're out there. Hundreds and thousands of people encounter these weird entities in the woods. Everything we've read points to the fact that when a large mob goes out or investigation goes out and they want to capture the beast, not just talk to the beast, figure out what it is they want to capture or kill, it never works out for them. They never encounter anything. They never see any creatures. They just get bunk. They get nothing. So that is just an interesting pattern that seems to appear here again with the Fouke monster. Everyone's going out to look for it. They're going to hunt it down, drive it out. They don't see it. It poofs out of existence. It goes back to its other dimension. It leads back to Jacques Vallée's theory of paranormal encounters being a cycle, being a part of the universe, being a part of the human experience, to open our minds to other possibilities, to psychic possibilities. But anywho, back to the Fouke monster. But the beast could not be tracked. Cryptozoologists now believe it escaped into the dense swamps where Boggy Creek and the Sulphur River bottoms meet, where the monster spends a bulk of its time. However, in mid-May of 1971, a motorist collided with the hairy humanoid when it re-emerged from the swamps and strode onto Highway 71, 1971 Highway 71. Think about it. 3 occupants of the car claimed to have seen the beast before it slipped out of sight. The very same night, at least 2 other witnesses spotted the Fouke phenomena. In the days to come, dozens of locals would encounter the monster and hear its awful cry. The monster's repeated appearances throughout May and the following months caused a panic, mental anguish, and stress among the community. To protect the town, county authorities organized another monster hunt, and guess what? They didn't find shit. Complete with trained dogs and hordes of armed men. Guess what? They were trying to kill it or capture it. So Fouke monster, what'd he do? He poofed, just like my cat just did. Although the creature eluded capture, someone did find huge footprints in the mud at the edge of Boggy Creek. The footprint, which had only 3 toes, measured 14 inches long and 5 inches wide. Again, 3-toed variety. You're gonna get something wild. You're gonna get something deadly. Watch out. That's all. I'm just trying to warn you, okay? 5-toed, you're chill. That's the rule. If it's toes of 5, you're feeling the jive. If it's toes of 3, it's time to flee. Now, by August, over 200 people had reported sightings of the Fouke monster, and in one incident, the creature was seen lifting prized hogs from their pens. The monster also attacked a trailer full of teenage girls, and then converted through a large fields and tore down barbed wire fences, and its howls continued to drift through Fouke daily, causing uncontrollable and inexplicable fear in all who heard the beast. The monster was shot by hunters several times, but it could not be slain. Reports of the Fouke monster and its ominous cries continued unabated until 1972, when Charles Pierce and his crew descended upon Fouke to interview the populace and search for the mysterious man-beast. The resulting documentary, The Legend of Boggy Creek, was released to mixed reviews. I mean, the author at first introduces The Legend of Boggy Creek as a pseudo-documentary, and then as a documentary here. So I just want to clear up for people listening at this point, if you are, thank you, love you. It was a pseudo-documentary. It wasn't a real documentary. While Pierce's interview with witnesses are insightful, the most vital pieces of evidence provided by the film are the monster's actual cries. While exploring the swamps, Pierce allegedly heard and recorded those sorrowful screams. Shortly after the release of The Legend of Boggy Creek, the Fouke monster simply disappeared, which is very, very common. This dates back all the way to the good old hero of the weird, Reverend Kirk's tristy, beautiful Bible, if you will, informational gold mine on fairy encounters, where the people report how when modern times come in, the cool and the wonderful and the paranormal phase out. Same with the cryptids. The more modernity buildings and people incur on nature, the less wonderful and weird things there are. They simply disappear. For several years, it remained in the depths of the swamp, refusing to roam close to humanity until, thank goodness, June 1978, when it appeared in Crosset, Arkansas, just over 100 miles from Fouke. Now, since 1978, the creature has spent long periods in seclusion, but it does continue to emerge from time to time. It's still encountered regularly in and around Fouke, and any sighting of a big hairy humanoid throughout Arkansas may in fact be a meeting with the Fouke monster. If you are, for whatever reason, deciding to go track the Fouke monster, you need to listen for its eerie call, which some witnesses claim sounds like the cry of a wounded cow, so be careful. While traveling the Fouke wilderness, remain near the water, for the Fouke monster always travels the waterways and is never found very far from the edge of a bayou, creek, or river. Upon encountering the Fouke monster, remain calm and motionless. Observe the creature's behavior and react accordingly. If it's chill, you're chill. Never fire on the monster, as this usually prompts it to attack. The Fouke monster is incredibly strong and has proven extremely vicious when angered. Fools who do not incite the creature are likely to be dismembered. So please, when you're tracking the Fouke monster, even though it has a high rating of 4 Jersey Devils out of 5, just be careful. Like with the Mothman, we don't know its intentions. Go at it with intentions of like, hey man, what are you? What are you trying to do? Don't try and capture it. Don't try and kill it. If you do, it might try and capture and kill you. If you don't believe that, there are a lot of great, beautiful, ye old tales of explorers in North America encountering hairy humanoids. Teddy Roosevelt, the president, one of the presidents, even has a allusion or a reference to one of these encounters in one of his many books about the wilderness. So, just saying. But that is the Fouke monster of Arkansas. Just like the Chicken Man, I believe there was something running around in the 60s and a little bit before, eating chickens and bothering the people of Fouke, Arkansas. Now, from the Fouke monster, we're going to move on to, I say a lot of things are my favorite here, but this next cryptid is truly my favorite. It is the one that started my whole obsession with these guys, and that is the Missouri Momo, the Missouri Monster, if you will. Missouri, abbreviation Mo. Monster, abbreviation Mo. Missouri Monster, Mo. We've seen chicken murders, and with the Fouke monster, we've seen some hardcore peeking, and several hunters being terrified. With the Momo, we're about to get some attempted kidnapping, so buckle up. We're going through two sources here. Not only are we continuing to dive through the beautiful W. Hayden Blackman's North American Guide to Cryptids, we are going to get into Unexplained by Jerome Clark, where he has a beautiful summation of the Momo. Before we get to all that good stuff about the Momo, we got to get to the vital stats so you have a vital picture in your mind's eye as we read. The distinguishing features of the Momo: slender fingers, exceedingly long hair, and an unholy stench. And 3 toes. Again, 3 toes. You need to watch out for the 3-toed variety of Sasquatch, I'm telling you. The height of the Momo is 7 to 10 feet. Weight 500 to 1,000 pounds. So they're coming at you from all angles, all heights, all sizes. Beware. This is what it would look like from the angle of one of the tallest Momos peering down on me as I read about them. The range and habitat of the Momo goes from the surrounding town of Louisiana, Missouri, and specifically the Marzoff Hills. Population of the Momo, 1 to 5. That's how many that's been seen together. Diet, omnivore, eats just about anything, even you, so be wary. Behavior: one of the most frightening hairy humanoids, Momo only emerges from hiding to mutilate animals, steal dogs, and approach young adults and children in suspected kidnap attempts. The source of this information: not only eyewitness accounts, cryptozoology information, but Native American mythology as well. Encountering a Momo, a little more rare than the Fouke monster. Just 3 Jersey Devils out of 5. 75% chance of encountering a Momo if your mind is completely clear and you're ready and you mean no harm. But forget all that. Let's dive into the history. Momo first appeared in the early 1940s in southeastern Missouri, where it haunted the swamps for several years. During that time, it was blamed for dismembering numerous cows and horses. Finally, a hunter spotted the giant, shambling mound of hair and fired at it. But Momo escaped into the swamps and went into hiding for almost 3 decades. In July 1968, Momo appeared again in St. Louis, in the suburb of Kinloch. The massive creature stepped from the woods and into the backyard of a home, where it grabbed a 4-year-old child. Fortunately, the child's aunt spied the monster and ran shrieking into the backyard. Momo dropped its captive and sprinted away, the family dog nipping at its calves. Police were unable to track or find the beast, and it escaped into the wilderness once again. Momo made another kidnap attempt in the summer of 1971, when it cornered 2 girls, Joan Mills and Mary Ryan, just north of Louisiana, Missouri. The pair had been driving along Route 70 when they decided to stop along the road for a quick lunch. Oh no. So this is, oh my goodness. So this is one truth that we have to reckon with. These entities, these creatures, love our lunches. If you're a fan of the Sandman, which I'm sure you are, you've seen Billy Madison, and you know already the truth that I'm about to reveal to you, that the Sandman revealed to us.
I'll tell you who took those lunches. That damn Sasquatch.
And we know from the documentary Mirage Men that government entities like the Air Force have dudes and dudettes and folks of all shapes and sizes who infiltrate the UFO community and other communities and spread sandwiches of lies and truths. We know they do that through Hollywood. Maybe this was one of them. The Momo loves a good lunch. You can't say no. But anywho, as they were having their lunch, they smelled a terrible stench. Then the bushes suddenly exploded and a huge monster rushed toward the pair. The girls escaped to their cars, and they left their keys with their picnic lunch. Momo approached the vehicle, and the girls locked the doors and honked the horn frantically. Seemingly startled by the horn, Momo gave up pursuit and returned to the lunch, where it devoured the girls' peanut butter and jelly sandwiches before wandering away. The following year, Momo burst onto the national media spotlight when it seemingly made yet another kidnap attempt on July 11th, 1972. 8-year-old Terry Harrison was playing in his backyard near Louisiana, Missouri, when Momo appeared splattered with blood and carrying a dead dog under its arm. The terrified Terry might have disappeared that afternoon if not for the arrival of his 15-year-old sister Doris, who managed to chase the monster away with her screams. Terry's father, Edgar, scream. Always show your raw human emotion to whatever paranormal entity. It seems to, from the stories we read at least, poof away after that, like it can't handle it anymore. Terry's father, Edgar, scoured the backyard and found several footprints and large clumps of black hair. Horrified that the monster had come so close to his children, Edgar vowed to find the creature before it returned. Theorizing that Momo had lived in the Marzoff Hills, prime wildland directly behind the family's home, he combed the region for 21 consecutive nights, searching every gully and limestone cave he could find. During the hunt, he discovered a shack filled with a terrible odor, detected the monster's scent on the wind several times. On one occasion, after being exposed to Momo's severe smell, Edgar's trained dog began vomiting and its eyes became bloodshot and raw. The canine retched for hours and hours until Edgar calmed the animal's stomach with milk and bread. While Edgar Harrison struggled in vain with the mysteries of the Marzoff Hills, as many do, the mysterious Marzoff Hills of Missouri, Momo continued to terrorize the small community of Louisiana, Missouri. One day, it confronted a group of boys and roared ferociously at them, and then later tried to overturn a motorist vehicle, with the driver trapped inside. There were also more sightings of Momo carrying dead animals, including sheep. Encounters with Momo continued until late fall of 1972, when the monster completely vanished. Poof. It probably went into seclusion in one of many caves in the Marzoff Hills in an attempt to escape humanity. Or it migrated away from Louisiana, Missouri to protect its young. This theory is supported by the testimony of hunters who have stumbled across a pair of Momo tracks next to each other. One set considerably larger than the other. Now, this author, Old Blackman, we diverge here. He refuses to look at the possibility that these creatures are interdimensional or extraterrestrial. I definitely think they're interdimensional or something beyond our consciousness, not just some terrestrial animal. So we diverge a little bit when it comes to where they might come from. I don't think they escaped anywhere. I think they just phased out. They could phase in and phase out in certain areas where they're drawn to by whatever energy it may be. One of those things might be some sort of mineral like gold or something like that. I don't know. But if you are out there looking for a Momo, be careful. Momo has been easily startled in the past by screams, car horns, and other noises. So make sure you carry a loud whistle. So if it's coming after you, boop, 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 you can scare it away. If Momo displays aggression or tries to grab you during an encounter, blowing the whistle may be the only thing you can do to frighten the monster away. If it attempts to flee, allow it to do so unhindered. I mean, yeah. That just makes sense. Again, if you're trying to capture one, like this advice is bunk anyway. If you're out there trying to capture one or actually grab a Momo, it's not going to let you grab it. It is a consciousness beyond your comprehension in nature. It could sense you coming a mile away. If you see a Bigfoot or a random cryptid or something magical, you've been chosen to see that. You should feel very special. It's not some random event that you happened upon. Bigfoot chose you to be a witness because if you imagine stepping into its wood is stepping into its domain. Just like if it stepped into the city, it'd be stepping into our domain, but it doesn't do that. So anywho, just be careful. Don't try and frighten away. Go to it with an open mind, as always. There's a strong possibility that prolonged exposure to Momo's odor can cause nausea and violent illness. If affected by the creature's stench, consume large quantities of milk and bread until the sickness subsides. That's only because we only know that worked for the dude's dog. Milk and bread. Most important, remember that in many encounters, Momo's actions have implied a disturbing hidden agenda and may be trying to kidnap you and pull you into the swamps for its own dark purposes. And that is the Momo. Look at this beautiful character design. Don't you just love it? It's long hair like Cousin It. There is some bonus material from Momo I want to go over from Unexplained by Jerome Clark. As I mentioned earlier, the author of I love the Field Guide to North American Cryptids, but the author doesn't really enjoy the theory of cryptids being anything but terrestrial and animals we haven't encountered, which makes sense because if you look at the history of cryptozoology, back in the 19th century, one of the top dog biologists of animals was like, we're never going to find a large mammal again. And then not long after that, we found mountain gorillas. But anywho, he falls into that category of they're all terrestrial animals we haven't discovered yet. I like to fall into the category of we don't know what the fart they are. They could very well be creatures from another dimension or planet. However you like to see it, I don't know. But this added bonus information about the Momo colors that a little bit. So let's get into it. So 3 evenings after the Momo sightings we read about, the children's father, the kids who had the encounter, Edgar Harrison, stood talking with some friends outside the Harrison home when they saw a quote-unquote fireball come over the nearby Marzoff Hill and apparently alight behind an abandoned schoolhouse across the street. 5 minutes later, another followed suit. Not long afterwards, a loud growl emanated from the hilltop and seemed to come down towards the listeners. Though its source was not visible to them, the police investigated but found nothing. So again, this creature was sighted not long after. Lights in the sky. Lights in the sky. Creatures running by. It's all connected. A paranormal umbrella. Now, if you really want to get into the paranormal umbrella, check out John A. Keel. He researches the Mothman. Now, during those sightings of the Mothman, when hundreds and thousands of people saw the Mothman in Virginia, wherever the fart it was sighted, there was one family who was having paranormal encounters, poltergeist encounters, UFO encounters, and Mothman encounters, connecting it all. Which brings us back to old Jacques Vallée's theory of paranormal events being something that's just part of the fabric of reality, something that's part of the fabric of understanding or misunderstanding that is part of the journey of understanding. But anywho, let's just get back to the Momo. So they see lights in the sky, and then they see Momos running by. An hour or two later, as they poked around the hilltop in the darkness, Harrison and others found an old building suffused with a pungent, unpleasant odor, the same thing we read about in Blackman's book, of the kind that was associated with Momo's appearance. On several occasions, witnesses claimed to have seen a small glowing light that exploded and then left the stench in its wake. Now, I do have one personal story about this. In the early aughts, sometime in the 2000s, before 2012, me and a big group of my friends drove across country in a short bus, in a little school bus. I was driving through Arkansas and it smelled really bad. I know that's not Missouri, but it's nearby. And it smelled horrible, like how they describe the Missouri Monster. Now, upon research, after I got home, why did it smell so bad there when I was driving? Was I hallucinating? I mean, I had been driving for hours and hours and hours with not much. Oh, look, we have a visitor. Had I been driving for hours and hours and hours with not much to spare or do, so that was cool. So maybe I thought I was hallucinating, but when I looked into it, we actually were driving by a freaking corpse farm. And that's what I was smelling. It was such a gnarly bad smell. I was smelling a freaking corpse farm. So that's what I was smelling. Maybe it was the Missouri Momo, who knows? But just an interesting anecdote I have here. Sightings continued well into 1973. Then Louisiana residents started reporting fireballs and other unusual aerial objects. One described as a UFO with lighted windows allegedly landed for 5 hours on a hilltop. One family claimed to have seen a perfect gold cross on the moon. The road was lit up as bright as day from the cross. Then shortly afterwards, these families encountered The Momo. Lights in the sky, creatures running by. And that is the Momo. The Chicken Man, the Momo, and the Fouke monster. Some of Bigfoot's most wild and violent cousins. They'll kill your chickens, they'll kill your dogs, and then they'll try and kidnap you. And those are Bigfoot, Sasquatches, Bigfoot eyes, Sasquatch eyes, cousins of the unknown. Thousands of people have encountered these creatures. So go figure. Do you believe? You should. Do I? Abso-titly-lutely. So be careful when you're out there in those woods. Make sure you walk with a solid heart, a good aura. You leave the place better than when you found it. And then the Bigfoots will not attack you. If you're interested in things like the attack on Ape Canyon, a paranormal Bigfoot attack, let me know. Maybe I'll do a whole reading on it. I do also have mini readings on it in other videos, so check those out as well. Thank you for joining me tonight. That's all I have for you on our journey in Monsters After Midnight. Whoop, sorry about that. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you'll join me again. Check out my YouTubes if you want to see some fun edited videos of this live shababble. Ta-ta.